Hello, I'm Denton Davidson for Gold Derby here with Asghar Farhadi, the director and writer of Iran's entry for Best International Feature Film at the 94th Academy Awards, A Hero. Asghar, I know representing Iran with this film has been complicated because you have a strong criticism of the government right now, but also a lot of respect for the people and citizens of Iran. So can you talk about what it means to be selected as the official Oscar entry for Iran?
به هر حال برای هر فیلمسازی وقتی که فیلمش انتخاب میشه باعث خوشحالی به این دلیل که این خودش باعث میشه که بیرون از کشور هم تماشاگر بیشتری فیلم‌هاشو ببینن.
Well, naturally, for any filmmaker whose film is getting selected, it's very good thing to happen because it will gather a lot of audience to watch the film.
و خود این شروع یه مسیریه برای اینکه توجه بیشتری به فیلم بشه در کشورهای مختلف و پیش از این هم فیلم‌های دیگه من مثل جدایی یا مثل فیلم فروشنده و فیلم گذشته معرفی شدن.
And it's a beginning for the people around the world to be able to watch the film. And before this, my other films, A Salesman and A Separation, were selected for this award.
And I was going to mention, you've been in this position before. A Separation and The Salesman were not only selected, they won Oscars. So you've won this category twice before. And A Hero's already been getting tremendous reception so far. It's been nominated for several critics prizes, and it was named Best Foreign Language Film and Best Original Screenplay by the National Board of Review. So what does that recognition mean to you as both a writer and director?
من وقتی که شروع میکنم به نوشتن یک داستان واقعا به این فکر نمی کنم که چه کاری باید بکنم که یک کسی که زبان فارسی نمیدونه یا فرهنگ من رو نمیشناسه با فیلم ارتباط برقرار کنه. این یه برنامه ریزی در موقع ساخت فیلم و نوشتن نیست اصلا.
Look, when I start writing a story, I never think about like how can I make this a story for somebody who doesn't speak Persian to understand it and have a feeling about it. This is not something that comes to my mind when I would start writing a story.
من همیشه موقع که می‌نویسم فقط به یه تماشاگر فکر می‌کنم و اونم خودم هستم و فکر کنم که اگر من به عنوان تماشاگر این فیلم رو ببینم آیا این فیلم منو در واقع میاره تو دنیای خودش، آیا باور می‌کنم همه چی رو.
When I do the writing, I only think about one audience, and that's me. And that's what I'm constantly thinking about. That is this work bring me into this world? Does it interest me? Is it exciting or not?
تجربه‌ای که من در این سالها داشتم متوجه شدم که لوکال بودن و حالا به نوعی جهانی بودن اینا دو تا چیز مقابل هم نیستن.
The experience that I had during all these years is that being local and at the same time being universal, they're not facing each other, they're not confronting each other.
یه جورایی یه حسای مشترکی بین همه آدم‌های دنیا وجود داره که شما اگر فیلم درست باشه همه آدم‌های دنیا میتونن باهاش ارتباط برقرار کنن.
There are these mutual emotions between all the people around the world that if the movie is done right, these emotions translate to all of them and they can really connect with the film.
همینجوری که من وقتی مثلا یه فیلم ژاپنی میبینم با اینکه اون فرهنگ رو اصلا نمیشناسم ولی ممکنه بیشتر از یه ژاپنی از اون فیلم خوشم بیاد.
Even for example, if I watch a Japanese film, although I don't know that culture very well, I may even get more emotional. I even like the film more than the Japanese themselves.
در واقع ما وقتی فیلم ها رو میبینیم خود این زبان سینما یه زبان مشترکیه که باعث میشه که دیگه این مانع نشناختن اون فرهنگ بره کنار.
Basically, cinema has its own language. It has some kind of a mutual language for everybody around the world that takes away the barrier of culture.
الان خیلی از فیلم‌های خوب دنیا رو که ما به زبان‌های دیگه می‌بینیم شاید اگر در واقع ما اون فیلم رو یه صفحه بنویسند و فقط بخوایم داستانش رو خلاصش رو بخونیم اون ارتباط رو برقرار نکنیم به لحاظ حسی و فقط یه سری اطلاعات بگیریم ولی وقتی زبان سینما میاد وسط انگار که نشناختن اون فرهنگ مانع نمیشه.
A lot of the movies that are made in different languages, when you watch them, if you read their story on a piece of paper, you may just gather some information, but it doesn't move you. But the language of cinema helps you to understand those films and get emotional and get attached to them.
I completely agree, and I know no person at all, but I was completely entranced by this film. And one of those things that I was curious about was the casting of Rahim. He's played by Amir Jaridi, and I found him so charming and so easy to empathize with, and so likable. What did you know about this actor before casting him, and what led you to bring him on for this role?
من اینو جای دیگه هم گفتم. وقتی که به کاستینگ این فیلم فکر می‌کردم تصورم این بود که همه بازیگرهای فیلم رو کسایی رو بذارم که چهرهشون خیلی شناخته شده نباشه.
I've said this before, but when I was thinking about casting this project, I thought about like using the actors that their faces are not, they're anonymous, they're not well known.
الان هم بخش زیادی از هنرپیشه‌های فیلم، شاید 90% هنرپیشه‌های فیلم کسایی هستند که چهرهشون رو در واقع تو سینما کسی نمیشناسه، یعنی اونا سابقه تئاتر دارن و تا حالا فیلم بازی نکردن.
Even now, maybe around 90% of the actors in this film are the people or the actors that are not well known. Nobody knows their faces. They were like theater actors.
تجربه بازیگری نداره، در واقع یکم خطرناک بود و ریسکی داشت.
But for the couple of characters in the film, especially for example for Rahim's character, using a non-actor or somebody who doesn't have the experience as much acting was dangerous. He had a risk.
من متوجه شدم که بازی کردن یه شخصیتی که یه آدم ساده معمولی روزمره است خیلی سخت‌تر از بازی کردن یه شخصیت پیچیده در واقع مثل بعضی از کاراکترهای فیلم‌های دیگه هم.
I found out that acting as a simple, honest, like simple man, it's much harder than acting as a complicated character. Unlike my other film that they had complicated characters.
به همین دلیل به بازیگر فکر کردم که تجربه بازیگری داشته باشه و آقای جدیدی رو من قبلا از نزدیک نمیشناختم و شروع کردم فیلم‌هاش رو دیدم، فیلمایی که قبلا بازی کرده.
Then I started thinking about Mr. Jadidi. I haven't known him before. I only started watching the movies that he had acted in.
و بعد وقتی هم اومد، حتی روز اولی هم که در واقع من دیدمش باز مطمئن نبودم و قرار شد که چند ماهی با هم کار کنیم و ببینیم بعد از چند ماه که آیا به شخصیت نزدیک میشیم، اگر نزدیک شدیم کارو شروع کنیم.
And when he came over, we actually talked with each other and we said that after a few months, if we rehearse with each other and if it's work out, it's good. If not, then we have to say goodbye.
و خوشبختانه وقتی آقای جدیدی اومد من یه چیزی درونش دیدم که احساس میکردی که اون چیزی که کاراکتر نیاز داره، اون سادگی توی چهرهش و توی چشماش و توی نگاهش هست.
When he came over, I could feel like there was something in his face, in his eyes, that I felt like the simplicity that I'm looking for the character, I can see it in his face.
من نکته‌ای که وجود داشت خیلی بدن فیزیکش با فیزیک کاراکتری که من در ذهنم بود خیلی نزدیک نبود.
But the other point was that his physique, his body was very much away from the body that I had in my head for my character.
و کار با این بازیگر توی تمرینات با کار روی ظاهر شروع شد. یعنی من یادم که اولین جلسه رو انگشتاش کار کردیم.
And working with this actor for this character start with his physique. I remember the first session we start working with his fingers.
اینکه یه انگشتای شکسته و خمیده‌ای داشته باشه.
The fact that he has to have like this kind of like broken fingers kind of shape.
یا مثلا یادمه که بهش گفتم که فکر کن یکی از گوشات خوب نمیشنوه و همیشه برای شنیدن طرف مقابل باید سرتو کج کنی و یکم چشماتو تنگ کنی و فوکوس بشی ببینی که طرف مقابل یه جور مثل لبخونی بکنی.
I remember, for example, I told him that imagine that one of your ears doesn't hear very well. Therefore, you have to lean forward and you have to close your eyes a little bit. You have to focus and really try to understand what people are telling you.
در طول تمرین ها که خیلی هم طول کشید این جزئیات ظاهر کاراکتر رو پیدا کردیم.
And during the rehearsals, that was a long time actually, we found all these details of the character in their physique.
یه چیز دیگه که در واقع آقای جدیدی خیلی روش کار کرد و برای کسی که ایرانی نیست متوجه نمیشه، روی لهجه این کاراکتر هم کار کرد. چون کاراکترهایی که تو این فیلم هستن یه لهجه‌ای دارن، لهجه شیرازی که خیلی لهجه سختی هم هست.
The other part that Mr. Jadidi worked a lot on, and people who are not from Iran may not understand it very well, is his accents, because all the characters in this film are come from a specific place in Iran that they have this specific accent.
و بعد از مرحله این که ظاهرش و فیزیکش و بیرونش درست شد تازه شروع کردیم کار کردن روی بک استوری این کاراکتر.
And after we kind of fixed his physique, when we kind of settled down on how it's going to look, we start to work on the backstory of the character.
And you wrote this original screenplay about a man named Rahim who's in prison because he's unable to repay a debt. And we follow Rahim during this 2-day leave from his prison stay, and then the story unfolds from there. What inspired you to write this screenplay and then ultimately make this film?
این چیزی که یه آدمی اوج میگیره در یه تایم کوتاهی و سقوط میکنه این هسته اصلی برای من جذاب بود.
Look, this idea of that somebody ascends in a very small period of time and then descends all the way, this was the core of this story and it was very interesting to me.
این داستان تازه‌ای نیست. هر روز ما در واقع توی اخبار میشنویم راجع به این آدم‌ها، ولی اینکه چگونه بشه این رو روایت کرد که علیرغم این هسته آشنا برای تماشاگر همچنان جذاب باشه، یکی از چالنجایی بود که توی نوشتن برای من وجود داشت.
This is not a new story, but like the fact that how you can tell this story in narrative way that is still interesting and exciting for the audience, it was a challenge that was interesting for me to work on.
And the cinematography and the shooting of this film is very beautiful to look at because there's some great landscapes. We not only see, you know, what prison life is like, but there's a lot of outdoor scenes and these amazing rock structures. Can you talk about the locations you chose to film at and why you chose to film there?
قبل از این بگم که فیلم بردار این فیلم رو من اولین بار بود که به عنوان فیلم بردار باش کار میکردم و یه جوون خیلی با استعداد آقای قاضی و خیلی این همکاری خیلی خوبی بود.
Before I answer your question, I have to say that the cinematographer of this film is a cinematographer that I worked on for the first time. He's a very young man, very talented man, and his name is Mr. Qazi, and I had really enjoyed working with him.
این فیلمیه که به نسبت فیلم‌های بقیه‌ای که من کار کردم لوکیشن‌های متفاوت‌تری داره.
And this is a film that, compared to my other films, has more, you know, variety of locations in it.
و یکی از چیزهایی که باز توی این فیلم من سعیم این بود که بیش از دیگر فیلم‌ها روش تاکید بکنم این جنبه مستندگونه بودن فیلمه.
And the aspect of this film that I were trying to emphasize on more than my other films is this aspect of documentary.
در واقع باید یه اتفاقی توی تصویر میافتاد که تماشاگر احساس نکنه که نور پردازی شده، احساس نکنه که این کمپوزیشنی که چیده شده برای این قاب‌ها قبلا نشسته شده، فکر روش شده. باید به نظر بیاد که این کاملا یه شبیه زندگیه.
Something should happen in the cinematography that it doesn't show the work of, like, you know, director or cinematographer, like as in the lighting or in the composition. The audience should feel like this is not something that is filmed, but it is something that is always there.
خود اون لوکیشن هایی هم که انتخاب کرده بودیم خیلی کمک کرد که یه فضای تازه‌ای به ما بده.
And the locations that we chose gave us like this opportunity to give a fresh feeling and look to our film.
مثلا این موتیف کوه و صخره‌ای که ابتدا می‌بینیم در فیلم و بعد این تکرار میشه، یکی از چیزایی بود که به جنبه بصری فیلم یه چیزی داد که تو فیلم‌های قبلی من نبود.
For example, this motif of, you know, mountains and rock, it's something that is new in my film and gave a new aspect to my film that it wasn't present in my other films.
من توی گشتن توی اون شهر یه شهر کوچیکی در اطراف شیراز پیدا کردم که در چند تا کوچه‌اش بود که این کوچه‌های سراشیبی داشت و انتهاش به یه کوه میرسید و خیلی به لحاظ بصری خیلی وقتی می‌دیدیم برای من خیلی زیبا بود اونجا.
During a location scout looking for locations, we found like this small town next to the bigger town Shiraz that had like these streets that would end up looking at this beautiful mountain, and I really loved it when I was looking at it.
And while filming this, when you look back on filming it, you know, what was the most challenging experience you had while filming this, or maybe something that you were the most proud to accomplish with this film?
ببین مهمترین چالشی که وجود داشت این بود که این یه قصه خیلی ساده‌ای بود که نه کسی توش کشته میشد، نه کسی توش در واقع ناپدید میشد، نه اتفاق خیلی عجیب میافتاد. خیلی همه چی خیلی ساده بود ولی باید با این سادگی میشد یه درامی ساخت.
The biggest challenge of this film, look, this film doesn't have like nobody gets killed, there is no gun shooting, there is nobody disappeared. So it was a very simple story, but at the same time it should be like very gripping.
این ریسک وجود داشت که بحرانی که توی فیلم هست برای تماشاگری بحران ساده‌ای باشه. مثلا امروز که تماشاگرها خودشون در زندگی شخصی با بحران‌های خیلی بزرگ روبروان.
And the crisis that was in the story, the danger was that the crisis is a small crisis, and the audience who already in their own lives they're facing huge crisis, they feel like this is like too small.
پس من باید یه بحران کوچیک رو توی داستان جوری تعریف می‌کردم که تماشاگر اون رها نکنه و خودش این بحران رو سعی کنه که دنبال کنه.
So I have to like define this small crisis in a way that the audience don't give up on that crisis and they follow that crisis to the end.
And just as a final question, I'm always curious to ask filmmakers, especially ones that are so accomplished, who inspired you when you were young? Like who did you watch that made you say, wow, I want to make movies one day? What was that?
در دوره نوجوانی بیشتر فیلمسازای ایرانی بودن که خیلی هم فیلمسازای خوبی بودن در اون دوره و من دیدن فیلم هاشون خیلی من تشویق کرد که این مسیر رو بیام.
During my teenage years, it was the Iranian filmmakers that were like a very great, accomplished filmmakers that really impacted me, and they like kind of bring me along in this journey.
یعنی بعد از اون یادم اولین فیلمی که یکی از اولین فیلم‌های غیر ایرانی که دیدم و احساس کردم کاملا میفهممش و یه چیز متفاوتیه با فیلم‌های معمولی که در واقع وجود داشت، فیلم دوچرخه دسیکا بود.
But the first film that I watched and I felt like this is a kind of a different cinema that I've seen from things I've seen before was Bicycle Thieves by Desika.
و یه جوری این فیلم هم به نظرم میومد که هنوز تأثیر همون فیلم دسیکاست در من که داره یه جوری توی این فیلم خودشون نشون میده.
And I thought that the influence of Desika's film is still there for even this film.
Well, congratulations on this film, A Hero. I thought it was fantastic. I'm going to encourage the viewers watching this interview to head over to goldderby.com, make your awards predictions, and check out more interviews with top contenders. Also, look out for A Hero in limited release in theaters on January 7th, and then it'll be on Amazon Prime on January 21st. Asghar, thank you so much for speaking with me today about your film, A Hero.
Thank you.